Hello and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. In this session we're going to be tying a fly known as the Booby. There's lots of different variations of this fly, but most of them involve a massive set of googly eyes which resemble, need I say more? And these are designed to make the fly float. There's a few different ways this fly can be fished. You can fish it on the surface as like a popper, or you can fish it on a very short leader on a sinking line and retrieve it quite close to the bottom. And they're quite an effective lure. In all fairness, a lot of fisheries have actually got them banned. There's a good reason why they've been banned. There was a third way of fishing the fly, and that was to cast it out on a sinking line on a short leader and just to leave it. And unfortunately, the fish were taking the fly down very deep, and it was causing a lot of problems with fish deaths. I mean, if you're game fishing, it's not really something that you have to worry about too much. But if you're intending to catch and release, then it's a big issue. So my advice for this particular fly is to always make sure you've got a tight line to your fly. Make sure that you are retrieving it, or that you can see the fly. And also, I'd probably squeeze the barb off as well. That might improve things. Okay, lecture over. So to make this particular pattern in the colour scheme that I've chosen to do it in, you can do it in whatever colour that you. I mean, there's that many different variations. Just search Booby Nymph on Google and you'll see what I mean. But we're going to do this one's going to be tied in the style of the Montana Nymph. So it's going to be black and chartreuse. So we're using a uni thread in black as our main thread. We've got some foam cylinders. I've got a bag of them here in a few different colours. These are 7mm. But I've cut this one to the right length, and this one's going to be black as well. I've got a bit of marabou for the tail, again completely optional. A bit of chartreuse fritz for the thorax, and for the body we're going to be using a bit of black dubbing of whatever you choose. I'm using fur in this case. You can use chenille as well, so most people would use chenille. And I've got a bit of fine holographic tinsel. This one's made by a company called Madeira, and it's not actually made for fly fishing. You get this from sewing shops, and it's holographic. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to rib the fly with this or whether I'm just going to add a bit of sparkle to the tail, or both. We're just going to do this as we go along and see how it looks. Right, the hook that we're going to be using, and that's what we've got in the vise, is a B830 in size 10 by Camazan. And the pattern that we're going to be roughly following is this one. This one's the Booby. It's in my my new book called The Fly Tying Bible by Peter Gathercole. So you're going to lay down a layer of thread towards the eye. And then trim away, and then get your bit of foam and offer it up in the same plane as the hook. You want it so it sits about there, so you got a bit of eye showing. So to do that, we're probably going to have to come forward just a little bit, maybe a bit more. That's it. And then the key is to get the thread right down the middle of that piece of foam to get the eyes the same size. And then pull tight. Do a couple of turns on the shank. And that probably looks a bit cockeyed, as it were. So it needs to go a bit more that way. That's it. That's better. tight as you dare without breaking the thread, and then turn it round like so, and then use figure of 8 to lock it into position. Again, tight as you dare, really tight. Same way as you put the chain bead on. Okay, and then you can come under, which is a bit harder to do with the foam eyes, but a lot easier to do with the chain bead. There we go. And you can use a bit of glue to lock that into place. We'll do that later though. And then we're going to put a layer of thread all the way along the shank. Doesn't necessarily have to be close turns, just get up there basically. Probably in between where the barb is and the point. Obviously I would definitely suggest you take the barb off this fly. And you're going to get yourself a nice meaty bit of marabou. As much as you can handle basically in one pinch. Then we're going to take the fluff out. And then pinch turns very tight, nice and tight. As my peer would say. Make sure that's locked in well. Now we can shorten that later. It's too long at the moment, but don't use your good scissors to trim marabou. That's my biggest advice. Make sure they're a decent pair of scissors, but don't use your scissors that you use for fine work, because it will just blunt them. And then tidy up. Right, then get your holographic tinsel. I don't think I am going to rib this one. Obviously you guys can if you want to. You basically double it up so it sits sort of like that. Because the eyes are there, it's quite difficult to work with, but tighten it as is and we can adjust it. Just a couple of turns and then you can adjust it so it sits right. That's looking okay your side. Yeah. And then trim away the excess. Now you could put white eyes on this if you wanted to. There's loads of different coloured, they call it booby cord, but it's just foam. They're just foam cylinders. in the pattern in my book it does say that you can trim so that they're perfectly round. I've got a nice rounded pair of... I get banned from YouTube at this rate, I better be careful. And I don't think I'm going to bother, if I'm honest. They look fine as they are. So you want to get your dubbing. You can have a Fritz body as well if you prefer. I'm not a fan of bulky bodies on lures. I'm not quite sure why. Just dub that as you would any other fly. We need just a fraction more. And that'll probably do it for the body. Then you just want a short length of this chartreuse Fritz. Now I bought this Fritz off Amazon and it's quite a good deal. You get 15 spools for something like £11. It's quite fine stuff as well. You need a lot of it to build a big lure, but if you're just using it for the thorax of a fly, then it's absolutely ideal really. And the colours appear quite good as well. I'm going to take the thread right up to the back of the eyes. And then start winding the thorax with touching turns. That just gives it a hot spot basically, an aiming point for the fish. Get right up behind the eyes with it. That's it. And then tie it off. There we are, that should be good enough. And trim away. Go over in between the eyes and start building up a head. And then get your whip finish tool, or you can half hitch. In fact, I probably recommend you half hitch this one to be fair, but I'm going to whip finish it. And then trim away, and then we're going to shorten the tail probably to about there. That's completely up to you as well. If you want it to be competition size, I don't think you can with this particular hook. I've just checked it. I've got a gauge attached to my vice base here, and it looks like it's actually a little bit too even the hook's too long for the competition size, so we're going to struggle with that. Let's take it just a fraction more off. Never cut marabou, just pinch it with your between finger and thumb. Bit of excess fur here, we're going to get rid of that. That's it. And then rather than use varnish, I'll probably use super glue here. I'm going to drop right between the eyes. And that should be enough. That'll hold it. And there we have it, everybody. That is the Montana Booby Nymph. Thank you all very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.